Wellington 2023. England lead New Zealand by 226 runs on first innings. They enforce a follow-on and they lose the game. Edgbaston 2023. England declare on day one with Joe Root still at the crease and 100 to his name.
9 down though, yeah? 8 down?
8 down.
Yep.
They also have Australia 8 down chasing 270 odd. So they need 57 to win. 2 wickets in hand. Australia win. Ranchi 2024. India trail by 130 runs with 3 wickets remaining. Low scoring game. England lose by 5 wickets. Rawalpindi 2024. Another low scoring game. Pakistan trail on first innings by 90 runs, 3 wickets in hand, and end up winning by 9 wickets. The Oval 2024. England have a 62-run lead against Sri Lanka on first innings. Sri Lanka win by 8 wickets. Oval 2025. England needs 71 runs to beat India. 7 wickets in hand. They lose, as we know, by 6 runs. Perth 2025. England effectively 105 for 1 in second innings in a low-scoring game, and they lose by 8 wickets within 2 sessions. So
what are you trying to say?
So what I'm trying to say is, why do England not know when they've won a game?
You know Rob Barron, who we had on the podcast a couple of times? He's got this theory that, like, the way that analysis should work in cricket, forgetting all the individual bits, but if you're talking about team strategy, his theory is always, if it's 50-50 and you're not sure what's about to happen, you can take a bit of a risk, right? If you're massively behind, that's when you should be taking risks over and over again. But once you're in front, you should play out the percentages. Mm-hmm. So there's an app called Crick, which gives you like the percentages of, win percentage chance. And I think it had England at 64%. It had England at 64% chance of winning at lunch on day 2. Was it lunch on? Yeah, lunch on day 2. Yeah. Which I thought was low. I thought it should have been about 75, 80. Because once they'd survived that bowling spell and not lost a wicket, I was like, well, geez, can he even bowl again after lunch? And if he can't, someone else has to do what bowling's doing right now. So it probably could have been 75 to 80%. So how do you go from that to losing so effortlessly in the way that they did? And they take risks at times when they're still ahead in the game. And they do it consistently, allowing the opposition to come back in.
2 things. From all those games that you mentioned, within the game, in a test match, the 3rd innings is vulnerable. All the teams know that. You're a vulnerable side in that 3rd innings to set the game up, whatever position you're in. Now, I agree with that stats guy that you can take a big... If you're out the game, you've got to take a risk. You've got to take a risk. And particularly, so bring that to an individual. We had a lad called Peter Philpott from Australia who came and talked to us about how to play leg spin. If you're playing against Shane Warne, you've got to come up with a plan personally that you can get after him. Because if you don't, he'll just get you out. Against another leg spinner who's not as good and you know that you're going to get a bad ball, sit on him, wait for the bad ball, knock it away. So then you come to a game situation where you are winning the game, i.e. lunchtime on day 2, box clever, have an hour off. From, okay, we rethink this. We're going to wear the opposition down, Australia. We're going to wear the bowlers down. These matches are coming thick and fast. And we're going to have an hour off and just play 2, 3 and over. And then we're going to go again. And then we're going to have another hour off. And then we're going to go again. And eventually we'll have a lead of 300 and maybe above 300. Rather than say, keep going, bang, 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 164, they've got to get 200. They'll get 200. They need 1 special innings and they got it.
Yeah. I think there's just an element of, they have probably won, you could go through this list of games that they're massively behind in, that they've come back, right? Mm-hmm. And so in their mind, they're like, well, that's the right way to play. And all we're saying is, when you're in front, you play the percentages, right? I'm not saying keep the ball longer like in football or whatever, or do something like in basketball where you dribble the ball so you keep the time out of the game. I'm not talking about that, but what I am saying is, at that point, even when Boland starts to take his wickets after lunch, right? maybe you just say, look, Boland was bowling incredibly over an hour period of time. He was bound to get some wickets in that game after not bowling well earlier in the game. You allow him his wickets, and then you go, great, now let's just give us an hour back. Let's take that hour back. Then we attack for half an hour. See what happens. Get ourselves back ahead. See if we can shake them up again. They just don't seem to have that gear, do they? They don't seem to have the gear of, let's give them an hour. And you can go back through all of these test matches you've mentioned, and even the ones that they've won. It's very rare that we see them do that. They put their foot down to basically, all the way down. And then they have that sort of ODI one where I think it was Duckett and Pope were scoring at about 4 runs and over at that point.
Yeah.
They have those 2 gears. They don't have second gear. And sometimes when you're going up a hill, you need second gear.
I mean, you mentioned
gear up a hill.
You mentioned that football where keep the ball, come and get it. And that's your hour off. That's your time that you're wearing. Every team that I've ever been involved in, wear the quick ballers down. Wear them down. Get them tired. Get the fielders out there all day. And then a mental process comes in, mental fatigue. And then you strike again. It's almost like, I'm a massive boxing fan. And it's almost like you're on the ropes and you're having a breather and you're covering up and then you go again. You come out and punching again with a 1-2. And, we don't seem capable of assessing what situation we're in this game, because we're in a golden opportunity. We can wear their ballers down to get them fatigued for the next game, and somebody might break down. That's the game, Test match cricket.
So Brian Lara, the great Brian Lara, where did he come in your art of batting? I don't know if
is there a book called Art of Batting?
Apparently there is.
Now. 5th.
Wait, 5th?
Yeah.
Where does Steve Smith come?
6th. Is that right?
Right, so
I think
Brian...
that's right. Someone took the copy that I brought in for here.
Brian Lara used to say, the first 20 balls belong to the bowler.
Yeah.
Correct? So that's Brian Lara. Not known as a overly defensive batter, right? Known as one of the greatest, in the top 5 batters of all time. He gave the bowler the first 20 deliveries. And also, we know Ollie Pope, if he faces 20 deliveries, he averages 50. Right? Why, if Brian Lara gave the bowler 20 deliveries, why do you think at the start of that afternoon session, with Ben Duckett coming back out to reset, Ollie Pope coming back out to reset, Joe Root early in his innings, Harry Brook early in his innings, Jamie Smith early in his innings, why did they not follow the Brian Lara template?
Well, after every break, there's one word you've used there, reset. After any break, you reset. You start again and you gradually build up. You mentioned Brian Lara. I umpired for 3 years. I was fascinated when I came to umpire Viv Richards. I mean, a fantastic player, one of the greatest players we've seen. And Viv Richards, playing for Somerset, would dominate the game, but every now and again he'd have 10 minutes to himself and deliberately just boom, 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 and then bang, go again. It's that word that is important in cricket, in my view, reset. You reset. So you're playing you've got the ability. If you're playing for international cricket, you've got the ability. That's a given. Now, use your brains. Use up here. Use, as my dad used to say, use your 2 penneth.
I think if you look at, not every batter is like this, but a lot of the greatest 50 batters of all time, right? They have, if you look at Jarrod Meandad, Viv Richards, Brian Lara, those sorts of guys, they are capable of scoring very, very quickly in a small period. But then it's not just the first 20 balls. They go through patterns, right? Like, you watch Lara will be on top of it against Australia, and McGrath would come back on, and Warren's at the other end, and he's like, okay, they're going to bowl for about 12 overs. So I'll give them these 12 overs, right? And then the other guy comes on, and maybe I have a go at the other guy and everything else. England doesn't really have any of those gears. And so the greatest batters of all time, and we're not saying that, England obviously have one of them in this side, but it'd be unlikely to have multiple. But the greatest batters of all time basically bat through 6 gears, right? And they go through each gear when they need them. England doesn't really have a team like that, right? They have 5th and 6th gear. They have some guys who have a 4th gear, and then they have Joe Root, right? And everyone else is pushing the whole time. And even someone like Duckett, you probably need to come back. Duckett I would argue that the spell that Boland got the wickets wasn't even as good as the spell that he bowled before lunch. If he comes back on, you have to think to yourself, I barely got away with that before.
Yeah, especially Ollie Pope.
Yeah.
beaten 3 times
Exactly.
and not even playing forcing shots, right?
Exactly.
Boland had discovered his length or
Yeah,
been allowed to bowl the length he wanted to bowl, depending on who you believe. But essentially, that was the Scott Boland that's been playing in Australia for the last few years.
Yeah.
But he just bowled a spell.
yeah, exactly.
And now he's got to bowl another one. You just got away with it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And there is an element of they tried to disrupt you in different ways, right? And we saw Duckett coming down the wicket to bowl and trying to do what they did in England to him and all. It's hard to come down the wicket in Perth because of the extra bounce, right? Every time Duckett did it, he looked terrible, right? So they are a little bit stuck against him. You have to defend. I think Stokes said something along the lines of when people defended in this game, they didn't do particularly well either. I think he's probably right that there was a few guys who did try and defend and that didn't work. However, that is the spell that you have to be smart about, and they weren't smart.
That's it. I wouldn't have that word in my mind. Defend.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Be smart. You can leave a ball, you get your one. You're going to get a good ball, and the international bowlers will bowl you good balls. There's a wonderful article. It's in this morning's paper with Robin Smith out in Perth, and being coached by Berry Richards. Berry Richards was one of the greatest players of his era, of his time, and he mentioned the word humility. At that level, they're going to be good, and you've got to play with a bit of humility and respect. And then your confidence will come, and you come through that situation, you come through that spell where you've got to suck it up. Ian Healy, a fantastic wicketkeeper, has done an interview exactly the same. He said, I can't understand England's mentality of bang, 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 bang. Every now and again, he said, it's fine to be aggressive. He said, I played in an aggressive team. Every now and again, you've got to suck it up because they're going to come after you. So I'll come back to boxing again. That's it. You're on the ropes, and then you've got to wait till your opportunity. Then we go again.
Ride the punches.
You've got to. England have to come up with a system from now on, and starting in the pink ball game, day-nighter, that makes them a little bit more savvy.